About 2 years ago on my channel, I made a video about Pink Floyd's final album entitled The Endless River. But because of a music video clip of theirs that I used in my video, it got banned in 138 countries. So as a result of that happening, at the time I just kind of said, fuck it, the United States isn't one of those countries that it's banned in, so I'm just going to release the video anyway. But I've recently been thinking back to this video, and it's a good damn video. I put a lot of work into it, and I feel like these other countries, especially the United Kingdom, where Pink Floyd is from, should be able to at least see the video and see what I have to say. So just consider this a bonus video, a remastered video, if you want to call it that, of my review of Pink Floyd's album, The Endless River. And you also get to see what I looked like 2 years ago, and the old place I used to film in, my room at my parents' house. I hope you enjoy.
Am I really going to review a Pink Floyd album for my second video ever on my, as some people have put it, crappy little shit tube channel? Well, yes I am, because I have something to say about it. When I first bought this album from Walmart, on CD, hold on, you hear that? That's the sound of 1,000 hipsters exiting out of my video right now. Perfect. Anyway, when I bought this album from Walmart, the clerk said something to the effect of, "Oh, finally, man, someone with like good musical taste. But you know this album is mainly instrumental and only the last track has singing on it." Which I thought, hey, fine, man, I can hang with a Pink Floyd instrumental all day. In fact, I think some of Pink Floyd's greatest moments have been long instrumental passages such as Dark Side of the Moon and Animals and Wish You Were Here. I love Pink Floyd instrumentals personally, so that didn't bother me. But what the clerk failed to mention was, this is not a new Pink Floyd album. This is not a new album by any stretch of anybody's imagination. What this is a collection of outtakes and rarities from the Division Bell sessions 20 years ago, and was packaged, given artwork, and by the beauty of the record industry's promoting machines, it was marketed to the undiscerning masses as a new Pink Floyd album. And that, my friends, it is not.
The album starts off with a very soothing ambient track called Things Left Unsaid. It's pretty typical of what you've come to expect from Pink Floyd from the last, I don't know, say 30 years? That's right, folks, a little less than 30 years ago, Pink Floyd had already lost founding member, bassist, vocalist, and key contributing figure Roger Waters. Though the albums that followed Waters' departure were still great albums, they definitely lost some of that pure, raw, aggressive Roger Waters style that made all their classic albums so great. But that's not to downplay at all the other musicians in the band. David Gilmour is arguably the better vocalist out of the two, and has certainly etched out his own unique style of guitar playing that is instantly recognizable. Keyboardist Richard Wright, for which this album is both dedicated to and the main reason it even exists in the first place, also played a huge role in Pink Floyd's earlier sound and is still to this day one of the more understated musicians in rock history. It's really hard to break this album down track by track because all the tracks seem to bleed together, and oftentimes you'll find yourself listening for about 10 or so minutes when you realize that you've just listened to like 5 different tracks in a row. It's like cutting a pizza at random. Some tracks are 6 minutes long, some are 3, but most are under 2 minutes in length. There's no rhyme or reason, there's no flow through, there's no common theme. All the things that Pink Floyd used to do so damn well. This is because The Endless River is based on material that was recorded in 1993 and in 1994 in David Gilmour's recording studio boat thing called The Astoria. At that time, the 3 remaining Pink Floyd members recorded long jam sessions on 4 90-minute DAT tapes that engineer Andy Jackson edited down to an hour-long composition called The Big Spliff. The band decided not to release it. That is until keyboardist Richard Wright's death in 2008. By 2012, drummer Nick Mason and guitar/vocalist David Gilmour had a change of heart, and perhaps a change in financial stability. They brought in a slew of studio musicians, reworked, retooled, and thus The Endless River became what we finally heard in 2014. Like I said, it's hard to really review this album track by track because all the songs just kind of bleed together. I can say for the ambient rock genre, it's terrific, but it's not a Pink Floyd album. That is a point I cannot stress enough. By the time we get to Alon's Y1, we go from rehashing Division Bell outtakes to rehashing The Wall outtakes. I mean, I'm half joking when I say this, but yeah, definitely not something we haven't heard before. Can you say Run Like Hell? The next track, Autumn 1968, is quite bittersweet and sentimental. It is literally a young Richard Wright playing the Royal Albert Hall's pipe organ in 1969, and then additional keyboards and guitars were added later on. Rest in peace, Brick. Track 13, Alon's Y2, is when we get back into the Run Like Hell outtake. A pretty cool idea, but it ends right as it essentially begins because, like I said earlier, most songs on this album are less than 2 minutes long. If you're an artist, have you ever started something really cool and then just got super lazy and never got around to completing it? Well, that's essentially what this collection is. Bits and pieces of cool ideas. Although, I'll let you in on a little secret. The completed versions of this album do exist. On an album called The Fucking Division Bell! Alright, you're right. I need to calm down. I need to take a breather. Laziness is definitely a motif on this collection. There was no real effort into really completing anything. If someone told you, hey, the new Pink Floyd album, yeah, it has 18 songs, but only the last track has vocals on it, it would be pretty easy to assume that corners were cut and hasty decisions were made. But probably the greatest example of laziness was the goddamn track listings. These are some of the laziest track titles I have ever seen, and for Pink Floyd, I expected so much more. It's like they literally slapped this thing together and realized, oh damn, yeah, we should probably name these things. I don't know, track 2 is a long-winded ambient jam with occasional guitar flourishes. Give it the name It's What We Do. Track 5 kinda has a little drum solo in it, so let's call it Skins. Get it? Like drum skins? Track 9, there's some guitar noodling. Let's call this track On Noodle Street. Although, I mean, you should have called the whole entire disc On Noodle Street because every single track is just kind of a long noodle session. Granted, it's 3/4 of Pink Floyd doing the noodling, so it's not necessarily a bad thing, but oh my god. The title track that takes the cake as the worst Pink Floyd track name ever has got to be track 14, Talkin' Hawkin'. Before I heard this track, I prayed to Saint Sid of Barrett, please don't let this be outtakes of Keep Talking, the song on the Division Bell that featured samples of physicist Stephen Hawking's synthetic speech. Oh, but unfortunately I was so correct. Stephen Hawking did some British telecom commercial in which he gave some sort of speech about how communication is like one of the only things that separates us from the animals. Well, so what Pink Floyd did was they used some elements of that speech in their 1994 track, Keep Talking, which was a great track. But then they rehashed that same Stephen Hawking sample in a not-so-great instrumental in 2014 and decided to name it Talkin' Hawkin'. I just can't get over that. I really can't. It is so remarkably stupid and is proof positive how the quality control in the Floyd camp has gone way down over these many years. Now, some might suggest in the Sid Barrett era, whatever, that there were some pretty bizarre song titles, but this only added to the mystique and artsiness of the band. Talkin' Hawkin'? Really? That's just corny and thoughtless. Now, let's get to the last track. The only track on the album that actually has new vocals from David Gilmour in Pink Floyd in 20 years. And what are the first things he has to say?
We bitch and we fight, diss each other on sight, but this thing we do. Hold on, did I read that right? Diss each other on sight? Diss each other? There's a lyric on a fucking Pink Floyd album that says diss each other? Oh wait! It's not a Pink Floyd album, that's right, I forgot, keep forgetting. Okay, so one of two things is happening here. Either one, David Gilmour gave minimal fucks about this project, or two, he's trying to up his street cred because he's gonna release a hip-hop album in 2016.
Oh wait, nope. After doing some research, it's even worse than both of those. His wife wrote the lyrics to the song. Oh, okay, now it finally makes sense. Granted, Pink Floyd is by no means at their peak anymore, but still, it would have been nice to have had the last original Pink Floyd song ever to be recorded, to have original lyrics from someone who was actually in the band. But then there's that moment around 4.5 minutes into the song, you get one of those classic, soaring, beautiful David Gilmour guitar solos. And all the weirdness of the rest of the album suddenly melts away and you're transported to the same orgasmic planet of awesome that he's been taking you to for the past 40 years. And that's when you realize this is Pink fucking Floyd, man. Their music truly is louder than words. They left an unmistakable mark on my childhood, adolescence, and adulthood, both as a musician and how I thought about the world in general. Sure, this may not be an album, and it may not have lived up to my overreaching expectations, but man, it's still Pink Floyd. It's still great, and I highly enjoy listening to it for what it is.
So in conclusion, The Endless River is not Pink Floyd's final album. It's still the Division Bell, in my humble opinion. But it is still a terrific B-sides and rarities collection that all Pink Floyd fans should still go out and buy. Just don't have any high hopes.
Oh, I was a smug little bastard, wasn't I? Just sitting there taking the piss out of Pink Floyd, a legendary band, talking about their final album that way. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed that video. Like I said in the video, but I cut it out to avoid further copyright problems that might come up now. I felt weird after I made that video because I was literally insulting one of my favorite bands, and I think one of the greatest bands that have ever existed. So, you know, just take the video for what it is. It's a review of an album that disappointed a lot of people. It was a rarities and B-sides album at best, but Pink Floyd is still one of the greatest bands that will ever exist, and I by no means meant to disrespect them by making that video. I just wanted to do an honest, thorough review of their final album, as I said in the video. So, hope you enjoyed the video, and thank you for watching.